First night in my Airbnb, I woke up to the sound of someone whispering my name through the vent, even though I knew, without a doubt, I was the only guest staying there. I booked the Airbnb because I needed a cheap place while attending a 3-day training conference in another city. I'm 27, a medical technician, and I travel alone a lot. I've stayed in dozens of Airbnbs without a single issue, but this one, it still keeps me awake at night. The host's profile seemed normal. Great reviews, clean photos, nothing weird. It was a small 2-story house, rented room by room. My room was upstairs. The host lived off-site. The key code opened the front door and another keypad opened mine. No interactions needed. But the moment I stepped inside, something felt wrong. The house was spotless, but silent. Not peaceful silence. Heavy, waiting silence. Like the air thickened the second I walked in. There were 3 bedrooms upstairs. Mine at the end of the hall, another across from mine, and the third at the far corner. The listing said only 1 room was available that week. So why did the bedroom across from mine have a towel hanging on the doorknob? And why was the door slightly cracked open, like someone had just walked inside? I pushed the idea away. Travel nerves, nothing more. That night, around 11 p.m., I heard it. A soft, creaking floorboard from the hall. Then, another one, like someone pacing, slowly, back and forth. I checked the hallway through the peephole. Empty. But the pacing didn't stop. It just got quieter, closer to my door. The type of sound you feel more than hear. After 15 minutes, it stopped. The next morning I messaged the host politely. "Hey, just checking, am I the only guest upstairs?" He responded immediately. "Yes, you're the only person with access to the second floor. No one else is booked until next week." I didn't like that, because the towel on that doorknob was still there. I opened my door slowly and stared at the cracked door across the hall. Something about it felt off. Too dark inside. Too still. Like a room holding its breath. I reached toward the doorknob but stopped before touching it. I don't know why. My hand just refused to grab it. I left for the conference instead. When I came back around 8 p.m., someone had moved the towel. It wasn't hanging anymore. It was on the floor, neatly folded, placed right in front of the cracked door, almost like someone slid it out with their foot from inside the room. That's when the anxiety really started to build. I opened my own door, locked it, and tried to focus on work, but later that night the pacing started again. Slow, careful, right outside my room. I held my breath. The steps stopped directly in front of my door. Then, 3 light taps. Not a knock. More like someone testing the surface with their fingertip. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe. A few seconds later, I heard the door across the hall creak open, then quietly click shut. But when I checked the peephole, the hallway was empty. Day 2, I was running on almost no sleep. I left my room unlocked for just a moment while brushing my teeth in the hall bathroom. When I returned, my door was fully open, wide open, even though I knew I shut it behind me. I checked my bag, my wallet, my laptop, nothing missing. But the air felt wrong inside the room. Colder, like someone had stood there just seconds earlier. That night, I pushed a chair in front of the door. I wasn't messing around anymore. I fell asleep around midnight, exhausted. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up to a voice coming from the vent above my bed. A soft whisper. A male voice. Muffled, but clear enough. "You shouldn't be here." I froze. Every hair on my body stood on end. Then the voice said something else, more frantic now, like a warning. "He's watching." The vent suddenly rattled, cutting the whisper off, like something or someone hit it from the other side. My heart was exploding in my chest. I grabbed my phone, turned on flashlight mode, and shined it on the vent. And that's when I noticed something I swear wasn't there before. Scratches. Dozens of them, right around the screws, as if someone had tried to remove the vent cover from inside the wall. I threw on my hoodie, grabbed my backpack, and bolted out of the room. As I crept towards the stairs, I heard a sound from the room across the hall. Not footsteps, not whispering, breathing. Slow, deep breathing from inside the cracked room. I should have kept walking. I should have left. But something inside me, curiosity or fear, pushed me to look. I leaned forward and peered through the gap of the slightly open door. Pitch black. So dark it looked like the room swallowed light itself. I whispered, "Is someone in there?" What answered wasn't a voice, but it was the sound of someone rushing at the door, fast, like they had been waiting for me to get close. I jumped back as the doorknob violently twisted, once, twice, then stopped. Silence. I didn't breathe again until I was in my car. I drove straight to a hotel. Didn't sleep, didn't look back. The next morning, I finally gathered the courage to message the host again. I told him everything. The pacing, the towel, the voice through the vent, someone trying to open the locked room. He left me on red for almost an hour. Then he sent one message. Just one. And it confirmed everything I feared. You should not have heard anything from that room. It has been sealed since 2019. We had an incident with a long-term guest who refused to leave. Police eventually removed him, but we never cleared out the room after that. It's been locked ever since. I responded immediately, asking what he meant by incident. He never answered. I checked the listing again that afternoon, just out of curiosity, just to see if anything changed. The entire Airbnb page was deleted. Not unavailable, not paused. Gone. I still don't know who was pacing outside my room, or who whispered my name through the vent, or who rushed the door when I tried to peek inside. All I know is somebody was still in that locked room, and I'm terrified the host knew it.
The second night in my Airbnb, I woke up to the basement door swinging open by itself, and the sound of someone slowly climbing the stairs, even though the host swore the basement was locked from the inside. I rented the Airbnb because I was relocating for work and needed somewhere to stay for 2 weeks. Hotels were too expensive, so I settled on a small, older house owned by an elderly couple who lived across town. It was cheap, clean, and only 10 minutes from my new job. I thought I'd gotten lucky. Turns out I'd walked straight into a nightmare. The house itself wasn't creepy at first, just outdated. Wood paneling, old carpeting, antique furniture, the kind of place that smelled faintly like dust and lemon cleaner. The host kept messaging me reminders like, "Feel at home, but please do not enter the basement." It seemed harmless. A lot of older houses had storage or cluttered basements. I didn't think twice. But the first night, while unpacking, I heard a soft thud from downstairs. Then another, like something dropping onto the floor. I froze, listened. Nothing. I dismissed it. Old pipes, maybe, settling wood. A house that age was full of strange noises. But the second night proved me wrong. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed the narrow basement door at the end of the hallway. It had a heavy deadbolt and a rusty latch above it. Both were locked. Still, something about it made me uneasy. I went to bed around midnight. The room was quiet, only the faint hum of the heater. But around 3 a.m., I woke up suddenly. No sound, just that instinctive jolt your body makes when something feels wrong. Then I heard it. A faint click. Metal shifting. I sat up slowly, staring at the bedroom door. Another click, then a soft, dragging creak. I opened my bedroom door and peeked into the hallway. The basement door, the door with 2 locks, was now halfway open. A cold wave rolled through me. I turned on the hallway light and walked toward it. The deadbolt was unlocked. The latch was hanging loose. I didn't want to look into the basement. Every instinct screamed, "Don't." But I leaned forward anyway, shining my phone's flashlight down the stairs. Pitch black. No movement. No noise. I slammed the door shut, locked both latches, dragged a small table across the hall, and pushed it in front of the door, the way people do when they're scared to admit something is actually wrong. I barely slept. The next morning, I messaged the host. "Hi, I think the basement door opened by itself last night. Maybe the locks are loose?" She replied instantly, as if she'd been waiting. "The basement is sealed. It can't open by itself. Please don't worry about it." I didn't believe that, but I buried the feeling. The day passed normally, but that night, everything escalated. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard something shift in the hallway, a shuffle, then a dull knock. I opened my bedroom door slowly. The table I'd shoved in front of the basement door? It wasn't there anymore. It was placed neatly against the opposite wall, like someone moved it gently and carefully out of the way. And the basement door was wide open. Not cracked, not ajar, wide open. A cold, stale smell drifted out, damp, metallic, like old earth or something rotting deep underground. I whispered, "Hello?" There was no answer. Then something touched the stair railing, a faint scraping, like a fingertip dragging along metal. My heart stopped. I stepped backward into my bedroom, closed the door, locked it. For the next hour, I sat on my bed listening. There were faint noises, soft creaks on the staircase, steady, slow, as if someone was climbing the stairs one at a time, stopping between each step. Around 3 a.m., everything went silent. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I confronted the host again, this time firmly. "Someone is in your basement. I heard footsteps." Her response sent chills down my spine. "You heard no such thing." I tried to call her. She didn't pick up. I almost packed my bags and left, but I had nowhere else affordable to go. I told myself I'd stay one more night, keep the basement door locked, and sleep with the TV on. That was my plan. But that night, the house had other plans. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the time I woke up the night before, I heard something new. Breathing. Not heavy, not aggressive, just slow, steady breathing coming from the hallway. My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed my phone, turned on the camera, and inched toward the door. And when I peeked through the crack, the basement door was closed again, but the deadbolt unlocked. The latch unhooked. And on the wood, about 3 feet up, were scratch marks, fresh, jagged, like someone dragged their fingernails down the door. I backed away, trembling. Then I heard feet on the carpet, soft, bare, moving past my door. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom. Then a whisper through the door. A man's voice, dry, cracked, barely audible. "It's cold. Can I come up? Just for a while?" I stumbled back, knocking over a glass of water on the nightstand. The moment the glass hit the floor, the footsteps ran violently toward the basement. I heard the door slam. Then nothing. I stayed awake until sunrise, too terrified to move. I left the house at 8 a.m. without packing, drove to a hotel, reported the listing to Airbnb. Later that afternoon, curiosity got the better of me. I checked the listing again. The photos were gone, the host's name was changed, and the entire listing description was replaced with a single eerie line. "Basement inaccessible. Do not ask questions." By evening, the listing disappeared completely. 2 weeks later, I searched the address online, and I found an article from 2021. A man in his 60s had been reported missing from that same property, a long-term tenant who lived in the basement. He was seen entering the house one night, but never seen leaving. The police never located him. The case was still open. And every night since then, I remember that whisper. "It's cold. Can I come up just for a while?" Sometimes I think he never left that basement. And sometimes I think the hosts knew.
On my second night in the Airbnb, I found a tiny blinking light inside the bathroom vent, and when I reached up to touch it, someone on the other side clicked the camera off. I booked the Airbnb because I was visiting my sister for the weekend. She had a newborn, and I didn't want to crowd her place. The rental looked simple, a private room in a shared home, owned by a woman in her late 40s named Andrea. Her reviews were glowing. Multiple guests said things like, "Felt completely safe, lovely host, quiet house." Safe, quiet, normal. Exactly what I wanted. I arrived around 6 p.m. on a Thursday. Andrea wasn't home, but she left the key in a lockbox by the door. Inside, the house felt clean, warm, and surprisingly cozy. The hallway smelled like lavender. My room had fresh sheets and a small desk facing a window. Everything seemed perfect until I walked into the bathroom. The bathroom was spotless, but unusually cold. The air vent above the shower was humming softly, like it was struggling, and wedged between two of the vent slats was a small white object. I assumed it was dust or lint, but something about it felt deliberate. I told myself I was being paranoid. I showered, unpacked, and went to sleep early. But around 2:50 a.m., I woke up to a faint buzzing sound. Not the heater, not my phone. The buzzing was coming from the bathroom. I sat there in the dark, listening. Then it stopped, instantly, like someone flipped a switch. I tried to shake it off and went back to sleep. The next morning, Andrea greeted me in the kitchen with a warm smile. She was friendly, talkative, almost too talkative. "How'd you sleep? Hear anything weird?" she asked casually. I froze. Why ask that? I lied and told her everything was fine. She offered me coffee but kept glancing at me as I drank it, like she was studying my reactions. I didn't like that. Before leaving to see my sister, I went to grab my jacket from my room. Passing the bathroom, I noticed something alarming. The vent cover was slightly tilted. Not broken, not loose, just angled differently than last night, like someone had removed it and put it back. I hadn't touched it, not once. My stomach dropped. I took a picture of it with my phone and left. When I got back that evening around 9 p.m., the house was silent. No sign of Andrea's car. I heated up leftovers, watched TV, and went to take a shower. That's when things got worse. When I stepped into the bathroom, the vent was humming again. Not soft this time, loud, purposeful. I climbed onto the edge of the bathtub and looked directly into the vent. And I saw it. A tiny lens. Black, round, facing downward. A camera. My heart slammed against my ribs. I whispered, "No, no, no, no," and reached toward it. The moment my finger touched the vent slat, the camera turned off. Not because the battery died, not because I broke it. It turned off with a clean, crisp click. Someone controlling it remotely. I stumbled off the tub, grabbed my stuff, and backed out into the hallway. The house creaked. A soft, slow settling. Or footsteps. I couldn't tell, and I wasn't staying to find out. I locked myself in the bedroom, heart racing, and texted Andrea. "Hey, quick question. Do you know why there's a device inside the bathroom vent?" No response. I waited. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Still nothing. Around midnight, I heard something outside my door. Fabric brushing against the carpet. Movement. Slow. Deliberate. Then, the doorknob turned. Once. Twice. Softly. Testing. I whispered, "I'm calling the police." The doorknob stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Then, silence. I didn't sleep. At 6 a.m., I grabbed my bag, cracked my door open, and stepped into the hallway. Everything looked normal. Too normal. But when I walked past the bathroom, I saw something that made my blood freeze. The vent cover? Completely removed, placed neatly on the sink. And the camera? Gone.
I snapped a photo and rushed downstairs. Andrea was in the kitchen, smiling like nothing happened. "You're up early?" she said cheerfully. I forced a smile and lied. "Yeah, I'm heading out." She stepped closer. Too close. Her eyes were bloodshot like she hadn't slept. "You didn't sleep well, did you?" Her tone wasn't concerned. It was curious. I told her I had to meet my sister. She nodded slowly, watching every move I made as I left the house. Once I reached my car, I drove straight to my sister's place, shaking so hard she thought I was sick. I showed her the photos, the angled vent, the removed cover, the tiny lens. She told me to report the listing immediately. I did. Airbnb asked for evidence. I sent everything. They told me they'd investigate and contact me. That was 4 months ago. They never followed up. But 3 days after I left that Airbnb, I got a text from an unknown number. "You misunderstood. The camera wasn't for you." I blocked the number instantly. Then an email arrived. No name, no signature, just one line. "She doesn't like when guests ask questions." I reported it to the police. They said because I didn't physically recover the device, they couldn't do anything. They said it might have been a ventilation sensor. They said maybe I imagined it. Maybe. Except, the listing disappeared from Airbnb the next day. Not paused, not updated, completely deleted. And when I drove past the house a week later, every window was covered from the inside. Curtains, blankets, sheets, all taped against the glass. Like someone wanted to make sure no one could see in or out. I don't know what was happening in that house. I don't know who controlled that camera or why Andrea kept asking if I heard anything at night. But I swear to God, someone was living behind those walls, watching every guest. And I think the host knew.
And if you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more terrifying tales every week.